Awesome. So I'm very excited to be sharing about this. So I kind of pivoted my talk a little bit. At first, I was going to talk about how design system in general and like the benefits of it and how it can help you with your engineering process and things like that. But I kind of just realized that every single conference I went to in 2019, all of them has to talk about design system. I think everyone knows about how good it is, why you should use it, and all kind of that stuff. And I'm pretty sure that most of you are already using it at work in one aspect or another. It doesn't matter where you fit within this whole technical spectrum. But I don't think a lot of people have thought about it, about how they can bring design into their personal life and use it to manage their personal things like personal websites and creating presentations and doing that kind of stuff. Just a couple months ago, I was preparing a presentation for a meetup similar to this, and as always, I'm a pro procrastinator, so I was trying to start doing the actual presentation itself like a day before. As a designer, I wanted to make sure that it looks good and all. Ended up spending hours on it, and then at the end realized that my website wasn't up to date also. And then so I was talking to a lot of people in the community about how, it's funny how we all work in tech, but we have a hard time keeping our personal websites and things like that up to date. So I was trying to figure out a way how, I can create my own system that can encourage myself to keeping things like this up to date more and reducing time that I spend on like creating resume, doing presentation, and stuff that has to do with around design. So here, how to create a personal brand using design system. So before I dive into this deeper, a little bit about who I am a UI designer at Vision Race. So our company specialized on mixed reality, augmented reality, and that kind of stuff. I am leading the UI team, kind of specialized in anything to do with web application. And outside of work, I'm physically located in Fredericton, New Brunswick. So I run the Canada Learning Code chapter here. We do a variety of workshops hoping to empower Canadians with technical skills. So why should you establish a personal brand? I think all of us has like a pretty good idea about what does brand mean and things like that. But most of us usually think about creating a brand or trying to do something about it when we're trying to look for a new job or when an opportunity coming in the near future. You don't really consistently think about it. Just before I talk more about this stuff, just want to kind of set the tone that building a brand is not just all about looking for the next job. Building a brand should be something that be thought of alongside building your career, because when people think about you, what do you want them to be reminded of? Do you want to be reminded of as a creative person? Do you want to be a personable person, approachable person? And all of this stuff can be communicated to your audience. It's a matter of its hiring manager, potential employer, or even co-workers online, especially in the current situation in our new normal. This stuff is becoming more and more important, even because it's most of the job interviews are not being done in person anymore. Most of them are being done online. So we're kind of lacking to get a personal sense of who are we talking to. So a lot of recruiters are trying to do more online searching and that kind of thing. So all in all, personal brand is becoming even more important. But where do you start if you want to get started on this train of building a stronger personal brand and starting to manage it easier using design system? So I will run you through a process of how I kind of went about with this. I think there's so many ways out there, and you might have an approach that work for yourself as well, but I'll run through what I did with myself. So started off, my friends and I just kind of started gathering all of this portfolio that I really like out there. We throw it into this big, huge spreadsheet of designer portfolio inspiration, writing notes about it. We all share notes about what we like, and then we kind of had a Zoom meeting to chat about how do we want to be perceived? So it's something that you can easily do with your friends. Look through all these portfolio, kind of have a discussion around it, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and write notes around that. And once you kind of have a general idea about what you like about these portfolio, you can kind of like start looking at yourself and what you want to start doing with yourself. And then what I did, oops, I can't land on this. Okay, what I did, trying to go over here. Oops. There we go. So what I did, I went on Dribble and just kind of type in, you know, as simple things as personal web. And I just, you know, have a look at all this stuff. The word that I decided when I was chatting with my coworkers there about how I wanted to be perceived, I wrote down being approachable and being creative. So keeping these two words in the forefront of my mind, I just looked through all this example, screenshotted some of the stuff that I really like, and then it came down to yeah, so I pick out 4 that I really like and 4 that I was going to work out off. So I started as simple as Wireframe. So I really like this website layout. So what I did with this one, I kind of just throw it in there and throw a bunch of boxes over it and kind of have a general wireframe of my website. And then I just kind of started slowly building elements. Like, for example, I really like the button that this site has. So I slowly, you know, kind of take bits and pieces from different websites. I'm not going to go through and do all of that with you guys today, but this is kind of the finished the finished product that I came up with. But this is where the design system thing come in, because, you know, I honestly, I had this website design done for probably over 2 years now, never got a chance to play anything with it. You know, managing personal brand and looking after your own personal website kind of become one of those things that always fall to the bottom of your list, right? Until you start looking for new jobs and things like that. So that's with me too. So this is why I wanted to show you how design system can come into this. So let's say if you pick out all those elements, build out a simple page, it can look whatever that speaks to you the most. You already have something created. In some cases, most people might already have website that they already have up and running, but they don't really have a lot of time to get around to start this type of stuff, to update this type of stuff. I mean, how you can also go backward and create design system from that as well. So what I recommend doing is, let's assume this is the screenshot. So you can go on your website, take a full screenshot of it, and start kind of looking through what are the elements that are repeated, and mark that down. Let's say I see this button here. There's also a similar button at the top. This button repeated too many so, like over all different pages that I have built here. And obviously this image here is already repeated. So noted all of this stuff down, and then you can kind of go backward and start a design system from there. So Figma is a great tool for that. So I am going to move some of the stuff here. So let's pretend, oops, that is not what I wanted to do. Let's pretend this homepage thing is a screenshot from my site that I already have it up and running, and I want to work backward to create a design system from this thing that I kind of already have going, but I didn't think about much about the design system I was doing at the time. What I would do, I would start with the color. So I would go to kind of look at your whole page and create let's recreate this whole thing so you guys can see it as well. So pick out a frame, create random rectangles, And I see here that the purple color, it's one of the most used color in this site. So I'll decide that that is my primary color. So I'll go and change this rectangle into that color using the dropper tool here. And then I want to add this purple as one of my style for my website. In Figma, you can do that super easily by going to this over here. Once you click on this kind of what you get, you go to the plus sign, you type in the color name. Don't just type in purple. I usually using like primary color dash purple, whatever, but we're not going to do that today because we already have this. So you can go through, pick out all that color. The finished product would look something like this. If you Google example of design system out there, you're going to see something that is very, very intimidating, even for someone like me. I would say that take a look at that, but don't follow it too much, because essentially at the end of the day, design system is this building block, right? It doesn't have to look all that fancy. So anyways, back to color. These are all the color that I have, and you can see now that all the color that I've saved here is show up as color style. So if I want to create a new shape on a new page that I create, I could just go here, click on this color, and I'll see all of them down here. So that's kind of how it looks like. The next thing that I would work on is the text part of it. So all of the text information that I have, it's saved over here. You can save your text formatting to local style page the same way you do with color. So what I just showed you earlier, let's try to recreate this. So I have the text box here. I type in random things. I don't know. For some reason, we want to make it super large. Oop, it's already saved to style. Okay, that's okay. So you can see right here, right? All local style. So if I want to change this text format to be something else, I can just randomly click on it. Let's see, if I'm making the H1 of the website, I can just click on this H1 here, and my text format will be exactly that written on here. But let's say if I want to go and change my H1 to become something so much larger, I can just change it right over here, and all of my elements that has the H1 will change to be that size. But let's change that back. So, oops. Okay, awesome. So that is kind of the whole gist of local style. After you finish doing stuff with your local style, I would start looking into icons and then start grabbing out the icons out of your website. And you can make these into components by right click on it, and there's a selection. Since this is already a component, it's not going to show up. So I'm going to show you guys some things here. Let's say if we want to turn this into a component, I can right click on it, create a component. So as you see, this one, which is not a component, is highlighted in blue, but this one, which is a component, is highlighted in purple. When you go to asset, you will see that Ignite Friction logo is shown right over here. So same idea, you can just kind of arrange them all over here, right click them to make them become performant, and turn them, you will see that they will turn into the purple color there. You can do the same thing with button, very similar thing, but what I would recommend doing is nested component. Nested component allow you to kind of systematize these things even more. So as you see here, I have the actual base of like my button, and have the button text, which is also saved under the local style here as well. So I create the background of the text. I save as button.background.orange, and then I put the text over here, and then I save this whole thing as a component as well. So let's say if I don't like this orange color anymore, I want to turn it into green, I don't know why I want to do that, but let's say we want to put it to green, everything that has this component will change right away. So the more detail you can do it, the better. So with your personal website, I would recommend that instead of jumping right in and coding it right away, I would, book out a part of your Saturday and just kind of like plan all these things out to really, really simplify thing in the long run. So other than icon, button, you can do all the stuff with text layout, elements, components. And so I know I've been calling all this stuff components. They are all components, but it just kind of make more sense for me to name things like testimonial block and things like that as components. So that's a kind of an overview of how you can go backward and create a system. There actually are so many resources out there. If anyone is interested in creating if anyone is interested in creating their own design system, just type in design system. There are a lot of video on YouTube that you can really learn in details about how to create each of these things. So once I have all this stuff created, design system doesn't just end at the design of it. It's also has to go to the code too. You really want to simplify how you create website, your side project, or whatever that might be. So the tool that I use for that is Storybook. Storybook is an open source platform that kind of linked the code and the design together. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it today, but I'll show you briefly how it looks like. So once, if it's a team larger than one person, in this case it won't, because you're working on your personal website, you will be able to, the designer or whoever designed it will be able to come in here and change all the little details about it. All the codes will be kept here, so whenever you code on it, you will have that information right there. Everything will stay consistent. So how it looks like for me is this. So as you can see, I have all the button, all the cards, all the footer coded up in all the components here. And every time that I want to create a new site, I don't have to recreate all of those things. It's become much simpler. So other than personal website, what else can you do with having your own properly set up personal design system? I actually just kind of come up with this very recently. Other than your personal website, you can create things like presentation, resume, header, right here on Figma. You just need to go in and build all that components as much as you can. And kind of save them as component, like what I showed you guys earlier there. Like I created this presentation cover page not too long ago. Let's say then if we have to recreate a new presentation for an event that's coming up. Since I have this front page saved as a front page presentation there, I can just drag and drop over here and change information about it. On presentation, let's say, and then I can change all this information, having another about me page right here and fix the information that I want to. So let's say if I change my job or whatever, I don't have to go in and update all of my presentation that I have done in the past. I can just go to the master component, change it, and everything will, all the presentation that I've ever made using this component will be changed. So all the same ideas, how you would use design system as regular UI development. Same thing here, you can pull this out, write out your content. But the really cool thing about it that I want to show all of you today is what I did with this presentation for this event here today, is that in Figma, you have this tool, which is a prototype tool that, obviously you use to create prototype, self-explanatory, but you can also kind of, work around and create a presentation. As you can see here, I make this presentation, and I make it so that this little circle here that I have hidden, when I click on it, it will navigate to this page that I've created. So kind of instead of using PowerPoint, you can use this type of stuff as well, and you can also rely on the design system. So when you create a new presentation, you don't have to start from ground zero, and it's still going to look good and fit your brand. So and another thing actually that I want to show you is you can also create like a blog header post or resume header as well. What I did here is just kind of like a fake resume header that I created. You can save that as an image and throw into your header of your resume, throw that in there so your personal brand stay consistent and kind of spice up your resume a little bit, make it easier to look at. Okay, so that's really all that I want to show you guys today. Just a little bit of, wrap up, final takeaways that personal website and personal brand online presence has just become so much more important. It's something that especially folks who are working in the tech community cannot ignore anymore. It's something that you have to find a system that will continue to be easier for you to just go on to an update and kind of take care of super easily. So I, from personal experience, I've been using this system for a couple of months. I highly recommend using design system to manage your own personal stuff as well. It's really make things a lot easier. So, oops. So that's all. Any questions?
Great, thank you, Book. There's actually been a little bit of discussion in the Slack channel, so I'm going to ask a question first and then kind of open the floor to anybody that wants to chime in. But I'm curious about whether you've had any experience connecting what you've done with the design system in Figma through to kind of the development workflow.
Just very little bit. I'm not a front-end developer by any means, but I definitely help the dev team with like setting up Storybook and things like that.
So how does your, I guess, to flip the question a little bit then, how does your normal kind of design development handoff happen within this context?
Sorry, could you say that again? You got cut off a little bit.
Yeah, like could you speak to a bit of kind of your design and development process, like how you go through the handoff process from your design system in Figma and Storybook, and how that kind of hands off to developers and gets implemented?
Yeah, definitely. For me personally, I don't do the handoff myself. However, I'm pretty familiar with the process. So in Figma here, you can go to the code component, and that's kind of where I get all my information, and then I pass it along to another position, which is the technical designer, who just kind of gather all this stuff all together into Storybook, and they're the people who work alongside the front end developer to kind of making sure that everything that get translated from design properly to code, and they're the people who making sure that tools that we use like Storybook get updated, and also work alongside QA as well, I guess. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
No problem.
We'll open the floor to anyone else that wants to ask a question.
Are there any common pitfalls do you see, like people commonly make when they're trying to establish a personal brand?
I would say that the biggest mistake is people not thinking about it all the time. Folks usually think about it when they're looking for a new job, like I mentioned, and then brand is it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's something that you constantly have to think of, something that you have to do every day. When employer look for you, like a lot of designer that I try to hire on my teams, one of the first thing I do is look what they have out there online, what they usually do outside of work, and you can usually see that their stuff starting to get active only when they start to look for a new job, which is okay too, but you don't see a full story about them in comparison to someone who might cares a little bit more about their brands every single day, or the online person every single day. You kind of see the whole story, and especially my team is a remote team, so looking through things like that is very, very important to kind of be able to get a gist of who they are, because it's really hard to get to know a person from just a Zoom call or things like that. So I'd say that is people's biggest mistake, is not caring about it every single day. So instead of having a whole picture, you just kind of have bits and pieces of it.
If no one else has any questions, I guess I would just also ask, what made you choose Figma over some of the other systems that are out there, or applications, I should say, that are out there?
You know what, that's a hot topic. I have this discussion with my team every single day whether we should switch. We are a small company, so the switching happened really, really often. At first, we just a year, almost 2 years ago now, we were on Sketch, and we switch over to Figma just because the online component itself, like that's before like the frameworks and before XD and stuff become really prominent. We have been using Figma ever since, and to be honest, I don't really have a good reason for it. We just use Figma because it works for us right now, and it works really well for our client, and our client already kind of understand it. We don't have to re-educate them, because one of the big reason why we switched from Sketch to Figma is we can send the link to the client, and they can see it, comment on it right away. So there was a little bit of education curve that we had to do with our client at the time. So the reason we're not switching anywhere else anytime soon is just mainly because of that. But there talks about switching over to XD, because we are doing all of this web application, web stuff with Figma, but a lot of illustration itself is being done in Adobe products still, so Illustrator, Photoshop, and things like that. So we're hoping that moving to XD would kind of simplify just the file transfer between everyone who works on the design team. But yeah, Figma worked for us right now, and we're probably going to be switching anytime soon.